So I guess I'd smoke some heroin. I mean, I don't want to smoke heroin. You should not smoke heroin. Nobody should smoke heroin. But as it is a Q&A, and I feel like, Boyan, you deserve an answer. Hello, my friends. Hope you are doing well on this lovely day. My name is Simon Miller, the bald a-hole, bald, B-A-L-D, because I haven't got any hair. It's just my pathetic way. When I first started the YouTube game and I got a little bit of traction, people go, oh, he's so bald, he's so bald. And I was like, it's not really an insult. Like, it's just Mother Nature stole my hair, so I reclaimed it. I reclaimed my baldness, and now nobody can say anything to me. It is the start of another month. As you know, we always put a little Q&A thing on the community feed. You've asked your questions, and now I shall answer them like a good little boy. That just sounds weird and creepy. First comes from Alex, who says, how will you train when gyms open again in the UK? Alex, this is true. What is it? Early March at the moment. So we're about 5 weeks away, 6 weeks. I don't know what it is. April the 12th, they are apparently going to open it up again here in the UK. I don't take anything for granted anymore. They were never meant to close last time when they did. So I think we have to take it day by day. How am I going to train? I'm going to train properly is the correct answer. Now, you can always have a good workout no matter where you are, even if you have crappy weights, which kind of sums up my situation at the moment. But you can't train the same, right? Because the gym has options and it has variety and it has weights, has actually things that you can push themselves. The weights that I'm lifting at the moment just don't do much to, I can't it's really hard to do progressive overload as opposed to when I do more reps. And you want to change it up more than that. So I'm going to go back to push-pull legs, rest push-pull legs, which is my favorite split to do. It just works for me and it will probably work for you too. And hopefully I can get back into some, I want to say some decent shape. That's not fair, but I don't feel like I'm in as good a shape now as I was 4 or 5 months ago, and that stands to reason too, right? Because again, I'm limited as to what I can do. So we did do a vlog last time when I returned. Do we do another one? Potentially so. We'll have to see what goes down. But thankfully, when I am allowed to go out in the outside world again, we can go back to do all the other videos that I promised you. So we're going to train like this guy, and I've got all these other ideas. You will have seen some videos go up recently that I just had to do because I can't go outside. So yes, we'll get back to that soon. Carlos says, do you plan on ever doing music reviews again? I was a big fan of Rock Reacts. That's very fun, Carlos. I was a big fan of it too. It was a lot of fun when we were doing it. I do sometimes toy. Here's what we're going to do. People that are watching this, if you're watching the Q&A, I'm going to assume that you enjoy my stuff because the Q&A is the most personal thing I can put out there. Not personal, but you know what I mean. Drop a comment below if you wouldn't mind to see the odd music review, because I was going to do an NF reaction. NF dropped a new track recently. I can't remember what it's called now. Cloud or something like that. I don't know. It was great. Really enjoyed it. But if you wouldn't mind, because I want to make sure the audience is catered for lack of a better term. If you would like me to do the occasional music reaction thing, drop a comment below. I always keep an eye on them. If there's more yeses than nos, we'll do them. Or if some people are like, no, stay in your lane, you idiot, then we can do that too. Tushar says, what is your advice on starting on YouTube and gaining subscribers? Well, I don't really have any advice for you, my friend. No, I do. The best advice is just to start doing it. Make sure you find a topic that you enjoy, that you're passionate about, and that you're, somewhat of an authority on, because I find like people like that on YouTube. Try not to copy anybody else, because if somebody else is already doing it, they're already doing it. So, you want to come up with your own USP. It's a hard game. It's a fun game. It's a wonderful game. It's a rewarding game. But, ironically, sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down, sometimes you get a load of subscribers, sometimes you get none. And I know you're probably rolling your eyes saying, oh, but Simon, you've got, 220,000 odd, which I'm incredibly grateful. But it's the dangling carrot. It's like the gym. I go, yeah, but this person's got 500,000 and that person's got 1.5 million. Now, will I ever get there? I would like to, but it almost seems like a pipe dream in many ways. So all you can really do, this is how I'm tying it back in. All you can really do is start creating content, start doing it every single day. I think YouTube likes every single day content, especially when you first start out, and just see where you get to. And as long as you're doing it for the right reasons, because you love it and you're passionate about it, ultimately, you're going to be happy. And happiness is what it's all about. Boan says, would you rather smoke heroin? This is good already. Or never go to the gym again? It's actually quite a tough... Well, I could never not go to the gym again. I would be miserable. So I suppose I would smoke some heroin, which would be a lot for me, given that I've never even smoked a cigarette. True story, I've never smoked a cigarette, never wanted to do it as a kid. I found the gym well young, and I decided, nope, this can be my addiction. So I guess I'd smoke some heroin. I mean, I don't want to smoke heroin. You should not smoke heroin. Nobody should smoke heroin. But as it is a Q&A, and I feel like, Boyan, you deserve an answer, we're going to go smoke some heroin. If my mum is watching, I'm not really going to smoke heroin, mum. I would never do that, and I love you lots. Happy Mother's Day. Raymond says, have you ever tried powerlifting, and do you think heavy lifts are necessary for getting bigger? I have tried powerlifting. So that that was my first thing, I suppose, when I got into lifting weights, because it's easy, right? It's not easy. You know what I mean? They just eat a load of food and you lift. I used to enter a bunch of deadlift competitions. I know. Why didn't I enter, powerlifting, strongman? I don't know. I just love deadlift so much. My biggest ever deadlift. Now, here's the thing. When I tell you the weight of my biggest ever deadlift, I mean, firstly, I know people have done much more. It was good for me. And I know it's all right either way. But this was not a good deadlift. This was like those people you see on the internet where it looks like if someone has told them, if you don't pick up that bar, I'm going to rip off your head and stick it up your ass. You're like, well, I really don't want my head to be up my ass, so I'm definitely going to make this deadlift. It was not smooth, but it was 275 kilograms. And afterwards, man, I saw the black spots. I got sniped, like we talk about in the gym fail videos. I didn't go down, but I did stumble back onto my seat. But yeah, I think I entered about 4 or 5 deadlifting competitions, just local to me. These weren't big things. And I won a few of them. But ultimately, I was just a big fat guy. I didn't want to be a big fat guy anymore. And I wanted to get into wrestling and bodybuilding, well, years later. But anyway, that's what I did. And do I think heavy lifts they're not necessary for getting bigger? It's not necessary. Heavy lifts is too much of a broad term. You just want to be making sure you're incrementally increasing the weight that you are lifting, because that's just a great sign that your strength is going up. And if your strength is going up, you're probably getting bigger, right? It's just kind of like maths. A big one here from Sherman, but we will read it all as I promised that I would. As much as I would like to ask you a silly question and then laugh my ass off at your response, appreciate that, I can't, as I have a serious one. I suffer from autism and struggle with depression. I don't know why, but it's always been easy for me to focus on the negatives and give into negativity. I tried to focus on positives, but I end up focusing back on the negatives. The last few years have been so tough and difficult that I wonder if I'll ever be happy again. And I am seeing a therapist. Do you have any advice or tips for me? Just for your information, you're one of the few people who can make me laugh out loud. Well, that's very nice, Sherman. I appreciate you saying that. It's really, really tough. Now, I'm not going to pretend that I understand what autism is, but I'm not going to pretend that I understand what it's like to cope with autism. I think that would be disrespectful of me to do so, because I don't know. I feel like the only way anybody could possibly comment on that is if they, were autistic as well. In terms of the positivity, negativity thing, the first thing you need to realize is that being positive doesn't mean that sometimes you aren't negative. And I know that sounds stupid, but it's true. I kind of find a lot of people think positive people wake up at 6:30 every day, just, do a dance in the sunshine, just singing, like, celebrate. That's not how it works, right? Being positive is just trying to have a positive mindset. So, for example, let's say you got fired from your job. One of the worst things that can happen to you, you're still going to be down in the dumps. You're still going to have a few days feeling all melancholic and listening to All By Myself. But the positive spin is, after those kind of few days, you then start thinking positively. So you start thinking, well, we'll get a better job. I didn't like that job anyway. It's a chance for me to reset my life and think again and do all the things that I wanted to do. Whereas maybe a more negative person would be like, man, I can't believe I'm not there anymore. What the hell am I going to do? It's the end. And it's not always a case of just being able to flick it on like a switch. Sometimes, I hate the term, but it's a great way to describe it, you do have to fake it to make it. And it's so easy to get pulled down with the negative stuff, because of course it is. Like, it's just, it can happen because it kind of washes over you. Again, I don't go back to cliches, but they exist for a reason. Misery loves company, right? And that's what it's there for. So if you do kind of feel like you're doing that, you just need to change your mindset. And sometimes, unfortunately, the only way to do that is to kind of drag. It's almost like you have to separate your brain from your own body, and you have to grab your brain and just drag it. It's true. Like, it's really, really true. I think a great way to explain it is, sometimes people talk about, oh, Simon, if you were in this situation, do you feel embarrassed? Because you didn't look like you felt embarrassed. And I think most people, depending on whatever the situation was, would feel that way. But you just do it. You get to a point where you teach yourself, okay, well, I am feeling a little bit self-conscious, but I understand what I am going to do. I'm just going to do it. And then once you find your flow, you're all good. It's great that you're seeing a therapist. That's absolutely something you should do. Hopefully you're going to the gym and doing everything like that, or just doing whatever kind of fitness you want to, because that will release endorphins and that will make you feel good as well. But, be nice to yourself. Give yourself a break. Take it day by day and just try and do something. Just start with 5 minutes. 5 minutes a day, say 5 till 5:05. You're just going to be as positive as you can be, even if that's sitting on a couch and reading off the things you're thankful for. And 5 minutes is quite a long time to do that, but you can say the same thing. Let's say the only thing you're thankful for is that you have wonderful hair. That's not my thing at all. But you just sit there and you go, I have wonderful hair, I have wonderful hair, I have wonderful hair, I have wonderful hair. Just do it for 5 minutes and then forget about it and go back to be as negative as you want. Next day, do it for 6 minutes, 7 minutes. Exactly the same as when we start going out in the gym. And you may just find over a period of time that without even realizing it, it gives you a little bit of a bump, which you can then tie into being a little bit more positive. But I'm thinking of you, my man. Thank you for the very kind question. And don't think that other people aren't going through this too. I mean, maybe not as bad as you. I certainly don't want to, make that claim. But most people are going through something. They just don't show it. Because they don't want to, because they're scared. Carlos says, would you ever get down to like 10% body fat? Not necessarily for a bodybuilding competition, but just for a different lifestyle of looking more shredded. Well, that's a backhanded insult, isn't it? What's so fat? Well, I mean, look, if you're going to do a bodybuilding competition, you ain't getting there at 10 to 12% body fat. You want to knock at least another 4 to 5 to 6 off of that. I mean, I will do when I get back to wrestling. I mean, you can go and find some of my wrestling videos on the internet. I've got a lot less body fat than I do now, but they locked me away in my house for a year. So every now and then it's like, flub it, man, I'm having some food, which you shouldn't do. It's a terrible thing to do, and that makes it like I have a problem. I shouldn't have said that. It's not that case at all, but not being able to train properly and not being able to sort of do my lifestyle that I used to do had just been a bit more sedentary. So I mean, I don't know what body fat percentage I am now, probably about 15% potentially. So yeah, hopefully I'll drop a few percent as and when the time is right. But right now, I'm just living the dream. Will says, when are you doing the 10,000 calorie challenge? As soon as the world is open, Will. I said I'd do it, but I don't just want to record myself in the house all day. That's really boring. Dan Miller, good last name, says, how do you keep yourself motivated for your goals, especially during lockdown? What are your 1 to 5 and 10-year plans with fitness in your career? Love the content, sir. Keep up the great content. Thank you, Dan. How do I keep my motivation? Well, I love going to the gym is a good one. Actually, during lockdown, I will say this, it's been a lot harder to stay motivated. I'm a dude that likes to be here, there, and everywhere and busy. So I have some days where I felt a bit more lethargic than I would have done. And it's absolutely lockdown. Lockdown is not good for our mental health. Like, I'm not saying I don't agree with it. I do. I want to protect people's lives. I think sometimes people forget when someone's dead, they're dead. We should probably try and protect that as much as possible. But that doesn't mean there aren't, offshoots of that, one of which is that lockdown is not good for somebody's mental health. In terms of my 1 to 5 and 10-year plans with fitness and career, but with fitness, I always just want to get a little bit bigger, a little bit more ripped, and just be able to look back at it's not always going to work because it will be the law of diminishing returns eventually. I just want to keep enjoying it, I suppose. And in terms of my career, that's a great question. Like, again, before lockdown, I was very invested in being the wrestler and seeing where that can go, and I will certainly get back to that once the world opens up. But I hope my what culture stuff continues. I hope this continues and both continue to grow. It would just be great to get it to a place where it could just serve as my livelihood, so that maybe when other outside opportunities, which I always do want, come along, I could be a bit more, not ballsy is the wrong word, but be a bit more, like sometimes I feel like I have to say yes. And it would be great if something came in that maybe I didn't necessarily want to do. I could be like, you know what, I don't need to do that one because everything else is firing on all cylinders. It's a crazy career to say the least, because who the hell knows where YouTube's going to be tomorrow, let alone in 5 to 10 years. But right now I'm enjoying it, so I will run it into the ground. Brian says, how did Kfabe News come about? Hope you're well, mate. And you, Brian. Well, it's nothing to do with me. I won't say his name in case he doesn't want me to say his name, but kfabenews.com is a satirical wrestling news website. You can check it out right now. The guy behind it, he wanted to do a YouTube thing. So along with Phil from What Culture, who was a good dude, we all just got together. They asked me if I wanted to host it, and I said yes, and that's it. All the editing is Phil. All the scripts are the Kfabe News guy. I throw in ad-libs here and there, and I sort of, put in my own jokes, but I don't want to take any credit away where it's certainly not due. And that's kind of it. So that's just like a project, really, but it's very fun, especially when wrestling fans get mad. Mr. Slump, which is an incredible name, says, would you rather only be able to work out with squat magic, watch the video if you haven't already, or only be allowed to drink uncut egg whites for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Only be able to work out with squat magic. Well, it'd be the egg whites. I know that squat magic thing. Someone tried to justify it by going, well, if you're old and you've got a problem, it's probably going to help with your hips. Yeah, because that's who it was marketed at. Old people with back, kiss my ass. That's it. That's your questions for this month. Thank you so much as always. Again, keep an eye on the community feed so you know when another one is going to go up. Otherwise, like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Hit the bell ding ding so you know when other videos are going live. There's one right there, right now. Why don't you give it a click? Should you want to watch another one, I'd appreciate it. And YouTube would appreciate it, especially. I've got Patreon, I've got merchandise, I've got Twitter and Instagram. Go in the description below. Wade through that and you'll find the link. But otherwise, thanks for your questions. Thanks for caring. And I'll see you on the next one.